and welcome to English for Speakers of Spanish. Hola, bienvenido a Inglés para Hispanoparlantes. Today we're going to look at the ominous prepositions in, on, and at. Why is it so difficult for Spanish speakers? Because of course in Spanish it's en, and en. So let's go for it and look first at in, on, and at with time. In, on, at. When to use them. So, starting with in we use for months, years, centuries, time of day, long periods, and seasons. So I'm sure you remember all of this. So seasons, what are seasons? So summer, spring, winter. So in winter, in summer, in spring, etc. Months, so in August it is hot. Yeah, it's very hot. Years, so I was born in the year 1993, whatever it is, in the 21st century. And then specific times of day, as in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. We'll look at exceptions a bit later. Maybe you can already think of which one I'm missing, okay? On. So let's look at on next. On we use for days and dates. So on Mondays, on Tuesdays. Yeah, on Tuesdays I have English lessons. Date. So my birthday is on the 20th of August. And then remember that for events that have day in the title, you still need to use on. So, on Christmas Day, or on my wedding day. Because it's got the word day, we have to use on. So, here's a recap with in and on. In, as we said, for months, years, centuries. So, in July it's hot. In the 21st century, and on with specific days and dates. Okay, let's look at at. At we use for mainly exact time. Time as in time. Yeah, so at 3 o'clock we have our lunch. At 11 o'clock I go to bed. So at specific times. When I say specific time, it doesn't have to be just o'clock. It can be at 3:10, at 4:30, okay? At the moment, that's again a specific time, at the moment, yeah, at this moment. And what are you doing at the weekend? Yeah, specific period of time. Now, do you remember I said about exceptions? Yeah, exceptions. So, did you notice with the times of day, we had in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. What are we missing? At night. Yeah, so at night is an exception. Yeah, so don't forget that because it's easily missed, but at night, okay? And as I said before, it would be at Christmas time, yeah, the period, but on Christmas Day. Yeah, so we have to make that difference there. So as we said, at for exact times, like at 3 o'clock we finish school. For moments, so at the weekend, what you're doing at the weekend, and then the exceptions in the morning, but at night, on Christmas Day, but at Christmas time. Okay, so in, we'll go with in first. In with places, okay, so positions. So this normally refers to inside of places that are really big or without an end. What do I mean by that? So like space. Yeah, I was in space. Doesn't really, space can be such a huge thing. Yeah, it can mean at workplace, in the workplace. So Emma is in her office, for example. It's also for countries and cities. So he was in Madrid, She is living in Mexico. And again, with big spaces, you could use, for example, the sea. She's swimming in the sea. And then when we think about actual physically what it means with the in on at, I'll just show you an example. So if we have a book, okay, it's my notebook. If it's in, it's literally inside, yeah, inside. So in would be in, on would be on, and at would sort of be at the side. So some people get confused and say she's in the table. In the table, that's impossible. She'd have to get into the table, yeah? So she's sitting at the table. So here the explanation with in with places. You can see I've put in small above the explanation in Spanish. But as I said, it's for large open spaces, like I was in the woods, I was in space, he was in the sea. Countries and cities, so he was in Mexico, she was in Madrid. And places of work, she works in a factory, John is in his office. Okay, so there's the recap for in with places. Moving on to at, as I said, sitting at the table. So this again can be for specific workplaces, specific buildings, also events, addresses, places of work. So she works at the bank. He works at the town hall. She was at the park, specific place. I was at the cinema last night. He works at the doctor's, at the supermarket. He was at the concert, an event. And she lives at 110 Juan Carlos I. Yeah? So, again, it's places of work, specific places, addresses, and events, mainly. Okay, if we look at the next slide, you can see I've also put in Spanish the explanation on each one, just as a reference for you. So here again, a recap with at with places. So you can see in the small text above, I've put in Spanish just an extra explanation so you can see how it works. But as I said, for workplaces, so he works at the bank, places in the city, so he's at the park, he's at the cinema, events, he was at the wedding, and addresses. Okay, exceptions. These are important, you'll notice in a second, because they can lead to some horrible problems if you get them wrong. So, if we think about transport, for example, often people say, oh, I go by car. Yeah, that's fine. But when we're talking about actually being on something or in something, we say in a taxi and in a car, because they're small. So if you think about them being small, but on a train, on a plane, on a bus. So we think really the difference here is small in a taxi, in a car, on a plane, on a bus. We can also use it for the difference between being at a place for work and just being there. So this is where danger, okay, if you get it wrong. So for example, if your mom rings you and you say, I'm at the hospital, if you say at, you're either working or maybe you're visiting a friend or relative in the hospital. And there we are, I've said it already, in. So if you say I'm in the hospital, yeah, something's happened, I'm in the hospital, I'm the patient, yeah? Because you're there for a longer period of time, in theory, okay? And the same would be, for example, prison, so even more scary for your mom or dad if you ring them. Where are you? In prison. In prison? What have you done? Yeah? So in prison suggests you're an actual criminal, you're in the prison for some reason. But if you're at the prison, you either work at the prison or you're visiting the prison for some reason, okay? So be careful. The exceptions with place, with in and at, can lead to some difficult conversations if you get them wrong. I hope that's all clear. Thank you, gracias. Till next time, hasta luego.